Hi, everyone. If you're on this webinar, we're just gonna wait a few minutes until we hit 11 Central Time for everyone to filter in. We're using a new software this time. If you've attended our webinar before, you know that we used to use GoTo webinar, and now we're using Zoom. So this is a little bit different than normal. So you should still be able to chat with us in the chat box. So if you can hear me, I should say, if you don't mind just typing in the box that you can hear me, that would be awesome. Okay, great. A lot of you are saying you can hear me. We will be starting in just a couple minutes. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hi, welcome to Onlife Health's webinar series presented in conjunction with HealthTrust Slice of Life program. We're your hosts, Olivia Rowe and Ashley Benningfield.
Olivia is from a small town in Pennsylvania, just outside of Williamsport, the home of the Little League World Series. She graduated from Ithaca College in 2013 with a degree in television radio communications and a concentration in screenwriting. Previously, she's worked as a writing assistant in LA and was an editor of a local newspaper in Pennsylvania. Prior to joining Onlife in January of 2019, she worked at Pop Culture Media, an entertainment news website under CBS Interactive. Olivia currently serves as the manager of content and digital media. Just a few fun facts about Olivia. She loves going hiking, watching Law and Order, and spends much of her free time writing fiction and watching documentaries. After 5 years in Nashville, she's getting ready to move to her favorite city, New York.
So Ashley is originally from Germantown, Tennessee, right outside of Memphis. She graduated from UT Knoxville in 2004 with a bachelor's degree in dietetics. From there, she went on to complete her dietetic internship at Vanderbilt University in Nashville. And Ashley is a registered dietitian technician, and she's been at Onlife for 15 years. She's held several positions throughout her tenure here, and she currently works as our content and digital media specialist. A few fun things about Ashley. Onlife is the only place she's ever worked. She loves cleaning and organizing, which is super relevant to our conversation today. Working out and spending time with her husband and her 8-year-old son.
Yeah, so for those of you that have joined us before, welcome back. And for those of you who may not have had the chance to join us, welcome. We look forward to interacting with everyone today.
So today's webinar is called Clear the Clutter, How Organizing Impacts Your Mental Health. Before we get started, just a couple of notes. The webinar is being recorded. It's being recorded in a listen only mode, so you'll be able to hear us, but we can't hear you. The last 10 to 15 minutes of the webinar have been set aside for a Q&A. But at any point during the webinar, you can type any questions or responses or whatever you want in this Zoom chat box, and we can see them as they're coming in. So, and during the webinar, and then also at the end, we'll try to answer as many of your questions as possible. And again, I mentioned this a couple of minutes before we actually got started, but this is our first time using Zoom. We've used it before. I don't anticipate it being an issue, but it's our first time using it as a webinar service. So if you encounter any issues or anything, please, again, let us know and we'll do our best.
Clutter, whether it's on the floor or if it's in your mind, it can wreak havoc on your health. From our homes and offices to our minds and hearts, we fill them with more clutter than we can manage. We think that more will lead to happiness, but all it does is create clutter. In this webinar, you'll learn how organizing and decluttering all areas of your life can benefit your health. We'll give you easy tips to help you get started small so that you don't feel overwhelmed.
Okay, so before we dive into the actual content of the webinar, we wanted to know a little bit about you. If you don't mind sharing, you don't have to for sure if you don't feel comfortable, but we wanted to know where you feel like maybe you have clutter in your life, and or how do you stay organized? We'll just give you like a minute or two to answer. Okay, so we have paper everywhere, old paper clutter, storage areas, basement, garage, home and office. Joan said she hates to throw away something she might use at some point. I think that's pretty common, for sure. Too much stuff in the basement area. Jennifer said she makes lists to stay organized and crosses things off when they're done. Emails, paper, too much paper, need better filing system, possessions and save items, cellar is a mess, clutter at home related to not being able to part with things that have an emotional connection. Yeah, I can relate to that one. Sarah says I organize by having things in view that I need to do at work, which makes it hectic. Yeah. Clothes, stuff from parents' house and downsizing, work files. Clutter comes from reluctance from stuff or memories of times past, for sure.
Yeah.
Too many clothes. Oh, Catherine says she upcycles instead of recycling.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah, these are all great responses. I think a lot of this is it's just a common issue. So we'll talk about like sort of why this happens and then how you can work to overcome it.
So the term clutter has exploded lately, and it means different things to different people. And as a noun, clutter is defined as a collection of things lying around in an untidy mess. And as a verb, it means to fill or cover with scattered or disordered things that impede movement or reduce effectiveness. And so because it's a verb, that means an action has to occur to create. So when you think of clutter, you might immediately think of physical stuff and having too much of it. But clutter can also be digital, mental, emotional, and even spiritual. And anything can be considered clutter if it doesn't have a designated space, if it no longer serves a purpose to you, or you don't need or want it, like those jeans that might not fit you anymore. If it's broken, like you might have children's toys that are broken. And if it's disorganized, like all those papers and mail piles you might have lying around. So in a nutshell, clutter is anything that stops you from enjoying your life and accomplishing the things you want to do. It's anything that takes you away from being your best self.
There are a few different kinds of clutter. The first one is, I think, the most obvious one that most of you talked about, which is physical clutter. That's the stuff that we usually think of: closets that are overflowing, garages, cellars that, can't hold enough things. And then you have digital clutter, which is emails in your inbox, whether that's 20 emails or 2,000 emails, files that are saved on your computer without a naming convention. I'm completely guilty of this one. You don't know what you have where, so you can spend hours looking for things. Mental clutter can be fears that you have. So like, what if it doesn't work? Why are these things happening? It can also be voices from our boss, a spouse, even from the news. Emotional clutter are those negative thought patterns that you might have that you not even realize you have. So, those I can't voices. So, things like, I can't do X, I can't do Y. Emotional clutter can also come from feelings of guilt, bad habits, and toxic and messy relationships. And then we have spiritual clutter, which is anything that limits your ability to fully develop values and actions that promote your true purpose in life. So that could be a lack of peace, contentment, or forgiveness. So for the purpose of this webinar, we'll mostly be diving into physical clutter and how it impacts your mental health, and then also vice versa.
So how does clutter happen? There are many ways that it can happen. First, you don't have a system. For example, let's say you come home and you get your mail. You will come in and you put it down on the table. You just added clutter. Chances are it will still be there next week, and you might think you'll go through it or file it or put it away later, but more than likely you won't. You'll end up forgetting about it, and it will just stay on the table. And then the next time you go to get your mail, you'll put it down on that same table. And then the cycle will just continue. But if you would take the time to go through the mail and file it or throw it away at the moment, the clutter wouldn't pile up. So clutter can also happen when you don't get rid of things. You might try to talk yourself into why you should keep something, or you might be afraid to get rid of something and convince yourself that you'll use it or need it one day. You might have an emotional attachment to something or view it as a sentimental keepsake, but maybe it just doesn't have value to anymore, and that's okay. Another reason clutter can happen is because we're too busy or too tired to put things away where they belong. I know for me, everything has a place, and if it's midnight, it doesn't matter. If I'm tired, it doesn't matter. I will take time to fold that blanket and put the remotes back where they belong. Another example I have is my son. Like Olivia said, he's 8, and when he comes home from school, he literally just dumps everything on the floor. His backpack, his jacket, his shoes. And to be honest, it really drives me crazy. And before I would usually try to hang his backpack on the back of the bar stool in the kitchen. And he has a Chromebook, and you have to charge it every night. It's got this long cord, and it would be in the kitchen, and the cord would get in the way and drive me crazy. So I made a little, I guess you can call it kind of like a nook in the office. And it's designated just for his backpack and Chromebook. So there, he knows to put it there every afternoon. And it's actually relieved a lot of, anxiety that shouldn't have even been there in the first place. It's out of sight now, and it's not cluttering up my kitchen counter. Another reason that clutter can happen is you might be someone who makes impulse purchases. So if you see something that's on sale, you might buy several of those items and think you'll use them one day or give them as gifts. And just where will you put those items? In a closet that's already cluttered? Yeah, so probably not the best choice to do it. Barbara Hemphill is a business coach, and she trademarked a phrase that sums it up. Clutter is postponed decisions. So if you think about that for a minute, it kind of fits in every circumstance. If you take the time to put things away, it would be easier to keep up. Take your emails, for example, whether it's 20 or 2,000 that you get. If you take the time to make a decision right then and do something with that email, whether it's filing it in a folder, responding to it, or deleting it, it will make it less overwhelming when you open your inbox the next time. So despite your best intentions, any one of these things can result in clutter. And then add to that a career, your family life, and other obligations, organization really can fall to the bottom of your to-do list. If you take time to take stock of your situation, it can help you pinpoint the factors that are leading to your disorganization.
Okay, so let's talk about clutter and your health. So clutter can affect us in many ways. It can waste our time and energy, our money, and it can lead to stress. So think about how many times you've spent looking for lost items, like keys, money, shoes. If you're someone who's living in a cluttered home, that amount of time drastically increases. When we're spending so much time going through our clutter, we're taking away from being able to do other things, like taking care of ourselves. Money. We talked a few minutes ago about how paper can quickly become clutter. If you don't have your financial documents organized, you can lose bills or even forget about them, which can lead to late fees. If you're someone who loses things, you might end up replacing items you still have. If you can't, for example, cook in your kitchen because it's so cluttered, you might eat out more, which costs money. So by cleaning and organizing, you can actually save money. And then the most obvious effect that clutter can have is stress. So let's say you walk into a home after a long day, it has piles of paper on every surface, sacks of laundry to put away, and random items on the floor in every direction. How do you think it would make you feel? Now think about walking into a different home, one that's put away. Do you think you'd feel differently? While the level of tolerable clutter may vary from person to person, any clutter typically can lead to stress because you're constantly reminded of all the cleaning and organizing that needs to be done every time you walk into a room. And if clutter stresses you out, you might be embarrassed to have guests over, and preparing for them to come by might be an all-day event. And for many of us, it's not realistic to maintain a home that's neat and organized every moment of the day.
Yeah, and so after having a child after 8 years, I'm still struggling to learn how to keep, how not to let the mess get to me and just let it go. Whether it's his sports balls everywhere or the cords from his video game controllers, I just try not to hold myself, to such high standards and come to the terms with the fact that it's okay that not everything is neat and tidy all the time. And I find myself a lot of times picking up his playroom, and I'm like, that's why it's upstairs, out of sight. That's why he has a playroom. But just trying to let it be. So.
Yeah, so your home should be your safe place, but if it's cluttered all the time, it's hard for that to happen.
So clutter can affect all areas of our health, but it can especially take a toll on our mental health. To the brain, clutter represents unfinished business, and this lack of completeness can be highly stressful for some people, especially if they have other pressing issues going on in their lives. We live in a society today that teaches us that more is better, and the more we have, the happier we'll be. But the fact is that more only leads to clutter, which creates stress and anxiety. Clutter can make it hard to think clearly. It can leave you feeling overwhelmed and tired, and it can make you feel isolated. It can make it hard to get things done or to find what you need. And it's hard to live in an orderly manner when you have stuff everywhere. If you constantly have to look for your keys or those jeans that you really love, it can leave you feeling frazzled, and over time, that negative energy really takes its toll.
So both cleaning and a lack of cleaning can have a direct impact on your mental health. So for example, one study found that women who lived in cluttered homes full of unfinished projects were more likely to be tired and depressed than women who had cozy and clutter-free homes. In addition, women who lived in messy, cluttered homes had higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Another study revealed that clutter makes it difficult to focus on a particular task. Specifically, a person's visual cortex can be overwhelmed by objects not related to that scientific task, which makes it hard to focus and complete projects efficiently. Clutter is linked to negative emotions like confusion, tension, and irritability, while organization tends to yield more positive emotions. Vice versa, mental illness can also have an impact on organization. If you're someone who struggles with an illness like depression, you might lack the energy or motivation to maintain a clean home. The thought of cleaning can be overwhelming. Later on in the presentation, we'll give you some tips on how to stay organized, even with just some small steps.
Can you guys hear me okay? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm getting like some, I don't know if it's happening with me too, but it's like a beeping, like buzzing feedback a little bit when you're talking.
Oh no, okay. I don't hear anything. Oh gosh.
Are you using your, what are they called? The things?
Oh, my AirPods? Yes, I am. I'm sorry. Let me
No, it's okay.
finish that.
Maybe try something different. I'll read the next slide while you.
Okay.
Okay. So while Ashley tries to maybe fix that, let's talk about the benefits of organization. So getting organized can benefit you in the long run in all areas of your life. Have you ever noticed when you're feeling down or depressed and you clean something, regardless of how small the task is, it makes you feel better? If you think about the stimulation that goes into your eyes and into your brain, that can help calm things down. So when you see something that's less cluttered and more tidy, it can make you feel better. So a tidy house is like a tidy mind. Even if you know your disorganization is causing stress, it's probably not enough to motivate you. But if you know the benefits of being organized, you might feel the urge to get started. So first, cleaning and organizing can help you gain control of your environment. So if you're struggling with certain situations in your life, cleaning can bring order to an already chaotic environment. It can help give you a sense of mastery and accomplishment. So one study actually showed that in times of high stress and chaos, people tend to go to repetitive behaviors like cleaning because it gives them a sense of control. Being organized can also improve your mood and reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. We all know cleaning is a good workout, and that coupled with a cleaner home helps reduce stress and anxiety and feelings of depression. So if you're organized and you know where things are, you won't be left feeling frazzled and scrambling around at the last minute every day in search of things. And when you come home from a long, busy day to a calm and tidy space, it can instantly bring down your stress. And while cleaning and doing regular housework can help bring down anxiety, vigorous acts of cleaning, like things like washing the windows or scrubbing the floors, gives you more of a workout and that boosts your endorphins. And cleaning can also actually improve your concentration because your brain can't function in a messy, cluttered home as well. So that chaos limits its ability to focus and process information. And research shows that when your area is uncluttered and organized, you're actually less irritable and distracted and more productive. So a clean room also means better sleep. Research shows that a messy bedroom can make it more difficult to go to sleep and get a good night's rest. So if you're planning to declutter your home, the bedroom is where you should start. The goal is to create a space that tells your brain it's time to go to sleep. So that could mean removing any work-related items like your computer. I actually keep my computer in my room, which is not the best thing to do. Don't recommend it. Laundry baskets that are overflowing with clothes, other items that might suggest that you should be doing something else. Not only will doing this increase your chances of getting more sleep, it will also allow you to wake up to a clean and inviting environment, which is a great way to start your day. Being organized also helps improve your relationships. So when you're not surrounded by clutter, you have more time to focus on other areas of your life, including social connections. You can focus on giving more energy to improving those relationships and doing things you enjoy, like having guests over. And then finally, being organized can make you more productive. So if your work area is neat and you're able to find the documents you need, you're going to be more productive than if your desk was cluttered with papers everywhere and your computer files were all over the place. So anytime you reorganize a closet or clean off your desk, physiologically, it just makes you feel better. You're more relaxed and it can give you a sense of empowerment and accomplishment.
Okay, let's try this. How is that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better. Very clear now.
Okay, I don't know what the deal was. I usually use those and it never has caused a problem. So
Yeah, I don't
thank
know.
you for letting me know and sorry about that.
Sure.
Okay, so moving on to eliminating physical clutter. So how do we get rid of or manage our clutter? Well, if you're anything like me, you make lots of to-do lists and you buy way too many organizational bins from the dollar store in hopes of that helps with the clutter. But in reality, do those lists and bins really make me feel better? Not really. Half the time they sit in the garage or in the office for weeks before I even do anything with them. So to eliminate physical clutter, we have to first think not so much about all the stuff that's present, but more about the underlying reason of why that stuff is there in the first place and why we're holding on to it. If it's something that you don't use often or you don't need it, or if it doesn't make you happy, consider getting rid of it. You can go room by room with a trash bag and throw away items like random papers of non-importance, expired food, or even cosmetics, or anything that's broken. If you have clothing items or shoes that don't fit, furniture that's not being used, or anything else that's not of value, consider donating it or selling it. For me, if I haven't worn it in the past year, it's gone. You can do a daily clean sweep, even if it's just for 10 minutes. It can be folding those clothes that are in the dryer, vacuuming one room, or emptying the dishwasher. Personally, for me, I don't ever leave a room messier than when I walked in it. Just doing something as small as picking up that dirty laundry off the floor and putting it in the hamper or putting the toothpaste top back on and putting it back in the drawer can make a big difference. Getting rid of things opens up more space in your home, and that leaves more room for you to move around and to just breathe. You don't have to have your books alphabetized or your clothes hung up by color, but doing something small each day allows you to keep up and you won't have to stress out about having to spend an entire weekend cleaning. Plus, your house will be tidy, making it more likely that you'll want to have friends and family over to relax and enjoy your home.
Okay, so removing mental clutter. So it's kind of insane how much negativity we can consume in a day, especially these days. But the good news is that it's easy to eliminate negative mental clutter. So one of the first things you can do is to do a digital detox. That means taking a social media break, unfriending or unfollowing anyone or anything that sheds negativity. Turn off your notifications, delete any unnecessary apps, and limit your screen time. So we actually, our last webinar was on this digital detoxing. So if you weren't able to make that and you're interested in listening to it, it's on the Onlife Health YouTube channel, which if I remember, I'll drop the link to it in the chat box later today. This is something that I try to do, especially as someone who is on my phone a lot. I actually have all my notifications turned off from all social media apps. So like Twitter, I don't use Facebook, but Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those, I have them turned off, which helps me be on my phone less. So I find that to be very helpful. Another thing you can do is a brain dump. So this is an activity where you just sort of dump all your thoughts onto a piece of paper.
Yeah, I actually keep a notebook in my nightstand for this purpose. So if I think of something I need to do the next day and I'm in bed, I'll just write it down and it's there the next day to remind me. And I'm getting it out of my head and putting it on the paper makes it easier for me to focus, and I'm not constantly, having to worry about forgetting about it the next day.
Again, I do something similar. I don't keep a notebook, but I keep my phone in my room, which again, I don't recommend. But I if I'm trying to go to sleep and I have like thoughts that I can't get rid of, if I'm thinking about like things I need to remember to do to work the next day, I will open my notes app on my phone and write them down. Someone just asked if they said, sorry that I joined late, can we have these slides afterwards? So just a quick note, we will be sharing this webinar with you later. We record it, so if you want to rewatch it or if you missed anything, we'll share that with you later, so that's not a problem. Another thing you can make sure you do is, have a support system around. Ask friends and family to support you. If you're surrounded by people who are always negative and bring you down, it might be time to move on. Toxic relationships can be one of the biggest causes of mental clutter. As always, it's important to establish healthy lifestyle habits. So eating well, exercising when you can, staying hydrated, and getting enough sleep.
So a few other tips that we'd like to share. First, set a rule. For every one new thing that you bring in, try getting rid of something else. Paying attention to the really busy areas, making time at the end of each day to pick up. The thought of decluttering and organizing can be stressful, but doing something little and often is the way to go. And like we said before, 10 minutes is really all it takes. That's enough to start bringing down some anxiety. Something small and is a step in the right direction, and will also give you the motivation to keep going. This strategy is particularly useful if you find cleaning to be overwhelming. People who deal with depression may benefit from this method to help them try to maintain a mess-free living space. And if you have time, you can clean thoroughly at least once a week. But again, doing something small is better than nothing at all. Paying attention to the really busy areas, also helpful if you're feeling particularly tired or depressed. Focus on cleaning the rooms where you or your family will spend the most of their time. You can vacuum well-traveled hallways or clean up clutter in the kitchen and living room, but try to spend your energy where it will do the most. And live a little and have guests over and enjoy your home. You can also use apps like unroll.me to help you, keep all that junk mail away. And we'll talk specifically about that app in just a few minutes.
Before I talk about the home edit, a couple of you, or several of you too, also mentioned that you have issues with paper being around. I don't really think we addressed that specifically, but other than like filing, which is I think probably the easiest thing you can do. What I've done in the past and things that I know other people have done as well is scanning papers. You don't even really need a scanner anymore if you have like a smartphone app, or I'm sorry, if you have a smartphone, there are lots of like free scanner apps where you can literally just take a picture of the paper using the app and like upload it to your phone. So sometimes it can be easier to file things digitally if you feel like you're more organized that way. And then that sort of allows you to get rid of those papers that are lying around. I think that can be helpful depending on the type of organized person you are.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing real quick. I just actually did this a couple weeks ago. I downloaded, it's called Tiny Scanner. It's free, it's a free scanning app. The other thing I did is my son has all kinds of artwork and it's out of control. I started keeping, kindergarten, it's like, oh, so cute, all their handprints and stuff. So I actually went through it all and only kept the sentimental things like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, that kind of thing. But then I took pictures of the rest, and you'll be amazed at how much paper, it just causes so much clutter. You think you'll file it one day into a nice system, but it's been 8 years and I still haven't. So so you can take pictures of it and save it in your digital files.
Yeah, exactly. You can do that with like photos and stuff too. Rebecca said she uses Cam Scanner, and she said it's very good, and Notes in iPhone is easy to use to scan as well. So yeah, there's like so many different options you can try if physical organizing isn't your thing, but digital organizing might be might be good to give it a shot. So next we want to talk about the Home Edit, which is an organizational company that's actually based here out of Nashville. It was originally founded by two women, Clea and Joanna. And it started out as a consultancy, and it's now morphed into a Netflix show, product. They have organizational products available at the Container Store, books. Also, this is like not sponsored by them. We just really like them, and we thought we just wanted to share because we really like this method, and both really enjoy the Netflix show. It became very popular. We just sort of wanted to share a little bit more about it, in case anyone was interested. So the goal in starting the home edit was to basically reinvent traditional organizing and merge it with like design and interior styling. So every project is based on a functional system that can be maintained over time. And there's emphasis placed on transforming the spaces visually, with their signature style, which is the rainbow. And that's why you see it rainbow here. So their method has basically like 3 principles. So the first is the edit, which is basically just purging anything that you don't use. The second is categorizing, organizing what's left into zones based on how and how often you use the items. And then the last step is contain. So that's how you make sure that your new order is maintained. And that's where their product line can come in. Containing is often done in clear plastic bins. The products are designed to stack and make easy use of vertical spaces. Storing things in clean bins makes it easy to find and protect them. And the labels mean you're more likely to return items to their correct spot. So there are many organizational bins you can find, but their line is at the Container Store, which you can buy online. And you can follow them on Instagram if you want, at the home edit. Their Netflix show is interesting because it sort of gives you a glimpse into 2 different ways of organizing. One of them, half of the episode takes place in like a celebrity's home, which, you know, maybe isn't the most relatable, but the other half of the episode takes place in like everyday people's homes who are struggling to organize their pantry or their refrigerator, or their garage is overflowing. So it can be really helpful, and I actually think inspiring. After I watched it, I immediately wanted to just organize my entire house. And I don't like organizing, so that says a lot. Yeah, so you can go to their website to find out more. And then in addition to the Netflix show, they also have 2 books, which are informational and instructional.
Yes, I actually just got one of the books. I just turned 40 in April, and this was seriously one of the things I wanted. And one of my best friends bought me the book. I just started reading it. It just makes you want to go to the store and buy just get all the things organizational. But one thing I do love about the book is that in the first few pages, the first thing they say is, don't skip on to the next section, read this section first, and don't go buy things until you know what you need, which I've in the past been really bad about. I'll go buy, all these bins, and then, like I said, they just sit in the garage, and, I don't know how I'm going to use them, and then I end up not using them. So I'm excited to read it the whole way through. So
yeah,
and just looking at the slide makes me happy. So So the next method that we wanted to mention was the Marie Kondo method, the KonMari method. And you may have heard about her or read her best-selling book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. She also has a Netflix series called Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. She's really become a household name in today's world. And she first established herself as a Japanese cleaning consultant with a revolutionary idea. Her minimalism inspired approach, which is called the KonMari method, focuses on tackling your stuff category by category rather than location or room by room. So the goal is to have a clutter-free home that brings you joy and prosperity and less stress. And I have also tried this method, and I will say it really works. There are 6 basic rules of this method. First is making a commitment to tidying up. Imagining your ideal lifestyle, discarding first, and then thanking each item for being a part of your life, tidying by category, not by room or location, going in order and asking yourself if it sparks joy. So the goal of tidying is to clear away the clutter that gets in the way of the life you want to live. And when you use this method to reassess your belongings and organize your home, you're setting the stage for a huge transformation. And that is the magic of tidying. So with her method, there are 5 categories to tackle. Clothes, and that means removing everything out of your closets and your drawers. Books, removing them off the shelves. Papers, all of the papers off of your desk, out of bins, or wherever else you keep paper. Kimono, which is miscellaneous items, and then there's sentimental items.
So this method is not just about tidying. It's more about getting rid of the items that lack value or don't spark joy. So how do you know then like what to get rid of? So after you've taken everything out, you'll likely have a huge pile of things, and then you want to go item by item and consider if it sparks joy. And you might think that sounds a little crazy at first, but once you get going, you'll get better at recognizing like what things you want to keep and make you happy. So once all your items are categorized, you can place them where they belong, whether that's a closet, a drawer, or on a shelf. And it's important to always finish one category before you move on to the next one. The intention of the KonMari method is to end up with a clutter-free home that brings you more joy and prosperity to your life, because you'll feel less stressed and you can focus on important things. Marie Kondo encourages visualizing the life you want to live. For example, if you want to be less stressed, and the things that you need to do to get there. And anything that won't help you get to that destination is not deserving of your space.
Next is minimalism. So what is minimalism? Minimalism is the active intention of paring down so that you can focus on what matters in life. It's intentionally living with only those things that you really need. And you have to remove the distraction of the excess stuff and possessions you own so that you can focus on what matters the most. So why practice it? Well, when you think of minimalism, you might think of the words like boring or empty, but that's not the case. We have all of this non-essential stuff that has little to no meaning. And minimalism is just a way to escape all of that excess stuff around us. The excess possessions and the clutter is escaping the busy schedules and constantly having too much to do. It's escaping the distractions and drowning out the noise. And practicing minimalism helps you move those non-essential things out of the way so that you can focus on what's truly important, what gives your life meaning, and what brings you value and joy. Minimalism can lower stress. It's less expensive. There's less things to organize, which obviously means there's less to clean and to maintain. And you can just enjoy more. You have more room for being creative, enjoying the presence of loved ones, and for doing things that bring you joy.
So I actually practice minimalism. I think it's like a little bit misunderstood. So I just wanted to sort of talk about what it looks like for me. So I think a lot of people think that minimalism, there's a minimalist like design aesthetic, which is like, brings up like modern and like sparse empty spaces that are not, necessarily like cozy. And that's just not really what minimalism as a concept is. It looks different for every person. For me, I found minimalism because I was living in like a smaller space, and I used to be such a collector of things. I used to collect books, and I am such a huge TV fan. So I had all these like TV on DVDs, and I just would like walk into my house every day. And even though it was organized, I felt overwhelmed by things that I had. And so I was like, I can't, like mentally, I couldn't grapple with the things that I had anymore. So I don't really remember exactly how I found minimalism. I think either someone recommended it to me or I stumbled upon like the podcasts that there is. But so I essentially just started getting rid of the things that I felt like didn't matter to me in the grand scheme of things. I was also getting ready to move down to Nashville, and I was only taking my car. So I knew that I was going to have to do a lot of paring down. And minimalism is sort of always an ongoing thing. It's not, you're never going to be perfect at it because we're surrounded by materialism and consumerism. And so it's really easy to just get sucked into that and want to buy different things that you might not necessarily need. And for me, if I'm struggling like mentally or I'm in a depressed spot, that's sort of like when I stray away from minimalism. And then eventually I always come back to it because it is like where I feel like the most peace. But essentially it really is just, not buying things that you don't need, having more intentions with what you're buying. If there's something I really want, I usually will wait like a few days or even a week before I actually buy it because, then I've given myself more time to think about whether or not it's what I really want. It can apply to like your wardrobe. So I don't have that many clothes because I am intentional about quality, and I'm intentional about the things I want to keep in my closet. So I keep that small as well. And I'm also someone, you heard I'm moving to New York. So I'm someone who likes to move around a lot. And I don't really want to have a lot of possessions that sort of slow me down. So it really is just about like what works for you. And just like being more intentional with what you're consuming. And if you're interested in learning more about it, there again is a Netflix documentary called Minimalism. It's very interesting and it just sort of really is an introductory documentary on like how it works and how it can be applied to your own life and what that looks like. So there are actually apps that can help you declutter. Some give you a guide to follow while others help you stay on top of things by keeping you organized and sending reminders. So the first one is called declutter, and that is without the second E at the end of the word. So this is like if you have a lot of books, games, and technology like CDs or DVDs, you can easily sell them with this free app. You just scan the barcodes on your items through your smartphone's camera and you'll receive price offers for each item. And if you accept the price, you just ship the items, and which is free, and Declutter pays you on the day they receive your items. So unroll.me. So this is a free service. It lets you instantly see a list of all your subscription emails and easily unsubscribe from what you don't want. So I get this in my inbox every day. So essentially what it does is instead of if you subscribe to, let's say, like 12 different places, instead of getting 12 different emails, you can essentially just have them all rolled into one email. So then you're only opening one email during the day instead of, like 12 or more. So it's really nice that way. And it's basically just like a daily digest that contains all the subscriptions you want to keep, but don't need right away. And you can also just go through the website and also just unsubscribe from there from things that you don't want anymore.
Yeah.
And you can choose the time of day that you want your roll up delivered. Sorry, I actually cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. I've cut you. I'm just gonna also use it. I use it a lot for like the junk, like the shop, the retailers that send all those emails all the time. Like I don't necessarily want to unsubscribe from them, but I don't want to get bombarded with all the emails. So it's nice to have it sent to you one time a day. So that you can, just see it once and be done with it. So it's nice.
Yeah, and also sort of lets you see how many different distribution lists you're on. It can sometimes be kind of surprising when you look at it. But
Yeah.
another app is called Centric, which lets you snap a picture of appliances, electronics, whatever that you have in your house, and the app will find user manuals, warranties, and how-to videos. So the user manuals are for, your specific model, and the app also finds parts and supplies for your appliances. And there's how-to videos, which are exactly what you need, and you don't have to waste your time sifting through all the Google and YouTube videos. And then there's an app called Toddy, which helps you schedule your cleaning tasks and track your progress. Just enter what you want to clean and how often you want to clean it, and then from there, the app will do the rest. And then there are a couple of other things we wanted to talk about with, so there are secondhand clothing apps, which, instead of like going to, like something like the Salvation Army, which is great. You can buy secondhand clothing or sell secondhand clothing online through apps like Depop, the Real, which is like a luxury secondhand retailer, and then like ThredUp and Poshmark. And then Ashley, do you want to talk about the one that you use?
Yeah. So I use Garage Sale. So it's like garage sale, but with a V, and it's one word. And I take pictures of my items. So first of all, you join your community. So you can locate your own community. So like I live in the Spring Hill Thompson Station area of Nashville. So I join that community and I upload everything from baby clothes to my own clothes to shoes, sports things. So you take a picture of it, add a price, select the category, and then post it, and people that are on there can see it in their feed kind of, and they can watch things to see if you lower the price at all, or they can message you and say, hey, I'm interested in getting this. When I first started, I just usually met them somewhere. But now they just come pick it up from me. Most of the time they pay me through Venmo. Sometimes they leave cash. I've never had a problem. Been doing it for about 8 years. It's been great. So that's another way to resell your things.
Yeah, and I would say, Garage Sale and there's like Facebook Marketplace, those are great for like locally, but if there's something that you can't sell locally, like apps like Depop, like I said, and Poshmark, those are more national. So you can send your stuff nationally if you are able to sell locally. So there's different options.
Yeah, so we hope you've learned that being organized doesn't have to take a lot of time or effort, and just setting aside a few minutes each day to tidy up and organize your space can really benefit your physical and mental health. We hope you've learned something new today and can take some of these strategies and master the art of organization. You can log into your secure account on HealthTrust Secure Enrollee portal and click the Onlife Health button, and there you can find lots of resources related to today's topic. And for your reference, we provided a list of websites that contain information on organization and your mental health. And now we want to hear from you. What is one new thing that you learned? You can type your responses in the chat box in the Zoom panel, and feel free to ask us any questions and we'll do our best to answer those.
Yeah, so pretty much anything you want to ask or say, have at it.
Netflix is a resource. Yes, I feel like everything's on Netflix.
Yeah, we really, there's so many things on Netflix these days that were helpful. Tiny scanner.
Yeah, learn to focus on one category at a time. I find that hard sometimes because you start taking things out and then you're like, oh my God. Sometimes I have a bigger mess than I started with, but that's just how it goes. But it's crazy. You just get distracted by everything. And so you just have to focus on one thing. What if you love your clutter? That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, Carol, if you love your clutter and you don't feel like it
Doesn't
impacts
bother
you
you?
mentally or anything like that, then I think you should just live your life the way you want.
So Sarah said, I'm going to check out the home edit. I really need a guide. I'm telling you, I've only like 50 pages into that book and it's already given me relief.
Or said I have 4 kids in their 30s and their stuff is still in their rooms. I feel guilty to throw anything out. I learn if I take pics of it and see what they want.
Yes, I had to, a couple months ago, we went to visit my family and my parents still had stuff in their attic, like a whole bin of things. And I was a cheerleader and I found they had all these brochures and things from our cheerleading competitions and pictures of, old, friends and stuff and it felt so good to get rid of them. Someone said, what about giving away books? Olivia, what about that place in Nashville? What's McKay? What is it
Oh,
called?
yeah, so there are usually places nearby where you can buy or sell used books. So there's this place in Nashville called McKay's that you can like sell used books or movies at. And I think there are probably some in other places too. You could talk to like the library. Sometimes they like used books. Otherwise, I think there are some like online resources that accept used books. Some towns also have these like free, they're called like little libraries that are around, where people just put like used books. Yeah, I would probably start with the library or posting them online to see if anyone wants them, and then maybe just doing like a quick Google search to see. I'm sure there are lots of places that would accept used books, so I would just check that out.
I think I saw somewhere, this was earlier before the presentation started, about passwords, somebody having passwords written down. I use an app called LastPass.
Mhm.
It's all one word. And it's so helpful. It's an app on your phone, and you can also access it through the internet, I think, but super helpful. I used to buy a password book and write down all my passwords. How silly is that?
Yeah, I should get that from my grandma. She just has them written down on like several pieces of paper. Peggy said that, yeah, her library has a huge book sale in their town on a yard sale day, and they take donations. So, okay, yeah. So, are there any more questions? So as I said earlier, we will be sending out a recording of this so you can listen to it later. We also put it on the Onlife Health YouTube channel. Every webinar that we've done in the last 2 years is on there too. So yeah, thanks for joining us. This was a lot of fun today. And we just wanted to thank HealthTrust for giving us this opportunity to share with you. And we appreciate you joining us. And our next webinar will be in August, and that's going to be on self-care, which is very important, especially during this time. So stay tuned for that. More details will be coming soon. Someone is asking, where's the YouTube channel? That is a good question. Let me see if I can drop that in here. I think you lost, I think the window, the share window, you won't be able to see anymore, but let me just drop that in here quick before we go.
And also I wanted to say thank you for your patience with my noise issues. Olivia, are you looking for it, or I can?
Yeah, no, I have it.
Okay.
So this channel, you'll also see like videos that we make. You can watch those too, but all of the webinars are on here. I will be uploading this one today at some point. Okay, yeah. So yeah, again, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll also actually just put my email address in here because why not? Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.